delegates are requested to rise and observe 1 minute silence in the name of Almighty. All the delegates will be starting with the roll call now. Kindly confirm to present or voting. The delegate of Australia, present and voting. The delegate of Belarus,
present and voting.
We're done with the roll call. Delegate of Poland.
Motion to open the general speakers list with a speaking time of 90 seconds per delegate.
All the delegates in favor of the motion raised by delegate of Poland. The motion has passed. All the delegates willing to put forward their points in the general speakers list for 90 seconds, kindly raise your placards.
Thank you, Chair, for recognizing the delegate of Italy. Our government plays an active role in supporting Ukraine through the EU and NATO's efforts, contributing to military assistance and the training of Ukrainian soldiers. The key initiatives undertaken by Italy include sanctions against Russia. Italy firmly supports sanctions and against Russia, encompassing measures such as discontinuing transactions with Russian banks. Italy supports the international community's efforts, including those led by the United Nations in seeking a peaceful resolution to the crisis. I would like to yield my time to the Chair.
Honorable Chair and distinguished delegates, greetings from Canada. Right now, as I'm speaking, the war in Ukraine has already caused over $100 billion in infrastructural damage and counting. Almost one child per second in Ukraine is becoming a refugee of the war as of 15th March 2022. Ever since the beginning of the invasion, Canada has provided international support to Ukraine. Canada and Canadians will continue to support Ukraine till the time Russia is held accountable for its atrocious crimes. Thank you.
The Republic of Poland, deeply committed to the principles of international law, sovereignty and territorial integrity, has been closely following the escalating conflict between Russia and Ukraine. Poland supports Ukraine's territorial integrity and its right to choose its own path, including its aspirations to join European and Euro-Atlantic institutions. I yield my time to the Chair.
Thank you, Chair. The United Kingdom, in favor of promoting peace, support Ukraine in the brutal invasion of Russia over Ukraine. Russian government has given many excuses about what its illegal war of aggression was supposed to achieve, and claims its invasion was defensive. After Russia strikes on Ukraine's civil infrastructure, President Putin said that the Ukrainian economy and military would collapse within a week without the assistance of other states. Adding on, Russia claims that it is the Western support that stands in its way. But much as we are proud to assist Ukraine, it is in fact the courage and unity of the Ukrainian people that will ensure that Russia fails and that Ukraine will prevail. And the reality is that Russian war has already been a failure and a historically shameful one. The Ukrainian people know too well that what Russian conquest would mean for them. There have been more than 100,000 incidents of crimes committed during the conflict, including the murder and torture of civilians and unlawful attack on civilian infrastructure with explosive weapons. At the same time, the sacrifice of thousands of Russian troops has made clear the value that Russian government places on its own people. It is not that the international assist which is prolonging the war. The fact is, Russian military objectives are unachievable. Ukraine will rightly continue to fight fearlessly to defend their land for as long as it takes, and the world is united in supporting Ukraine's sovereignty and territorial integrity. That will not change. Thank you.
The delegate of South Korea has the floor for 90 seconds.
Good morning, everyone. I am the proud delegate of Belarus. We are located at such a position that we share borders with both Russia and Ukraine, which are the two main prospects of this war. We solemnly support Russia as it has given us reasons to do so. Starting from the 1990s, both the countries have signed many treaties such as the Treaty of Friendship, Treaty of Union State and the Treaty of Right to Citizen.
Good morning, respected Chair and esteemed delegates. Delegate of Denmark is delighted to be a part of this MUN and hopes that the fellow delegates will engage in relevant debates in order to make this conference productive. the delegate would like to share his preoccupation regarding the Russo-Ukrainian conflict and how it has affected Denmark. Denmark is a Scandinavian country rich in diversity and has a GDP of over $420 billion as per 2023. The economy is primarily based on service, industries, trade and manufacturing. Similar to other countries, Denmark has been providing military, humanitarian and financial support to Ukraine following Russia's invasion.
Good morning, Chair and fellow delegates. The delegate of Australia would like to state that the country is in complete favour and support of Ukraine.
Good morning, Honorable Chair and distinguished delegates. The delegate of USA would like to state, the United States, founded in 1776, participated in both World Wars and the Cold War with the Soviet Union, is a diverse nation with a strong economy, global influence and peaceful community. Former President of the United States, John F. Kennedy, once said, "Ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country." Today, ask not what the world can do for you, but what you can do for the world. And today the United States sets a worldwide example for this beautiful quote.
Russia operates this conflict as one placed against the West. Russia has always said Ukraine and Russia are one brother nation. But today, Russia's sovereignty and security is in real threat. Late in 1991, when the Soviet Union was disintegrating, there was one main question put forward: whether Germany should join NATO or join Russia through Warsaw Pact. And at that time, the US President, Mr. George Bush, made an offer to the Russian President, stating that if Germany joined NATO, then they will not expand even 1 inch towards east. But this promise was not kept at all. They continue to expand throughout the Western Europe.
Namaste to all the delegates. India here. India, a nation committed to the principle of peace and non-violence, find itself compelled to address the pressing issue of Ukraine and Russia. India has historically made good and strong diplomatic ties with both the nations and had made a foundation of trust and respect with both of them. Regarding our past involvement, India has consistently advocated for peaceful resolution to the conflict through diplomatic means. Our nation, as a non-permanent member of UN Security Council, has supported initiatives that promotes dialogues and negotiations to bring a long-lasting change to the crisis.
Good morning, everyone. The delegate of Belgium would like to thank the chair for the opportunity to speak in this session of the MUN. Belgium has been a good, friendly ally of Ukraine ever since the separation of the USSR. The same could be said for the bilateral relation with Russia, but these relations may be seen deteriorating in the future, as Belgium is a European Union member and a NATO ally, and both these organizations have taken a rather hard stance towards Russia in the past decade or so. Belgium has actively supported Ukraine in all phases of the war.
Thank you, Chair. Greetings to Honorable Chair and fellow delegates. The delegate of China would like to express that China has not condemned the Russian invasion on Ukraine and is altruistically supporting Ukraine. In spite of supporting Ukraine in the ongoing conflict, China has become an increasingly important trading partner for Russia as it seeks to soften the impact of economic sanctions imposed by some countries.
Don't let evil defeat you, but defeat evil by doing good. Good morning to all our respected council members. Today we are assembled here as millions of innocent people face the evil effects of someone's vested interest, aggression and cruelty against people. No one emerges as a winner in war. The biggest loser is humanity. Today it is against Ukraine. Tomorrow it can be against you. To eradicate this evil, we have to join hands and corner the minds of hatred, destruction and war. It is none but the people who start the war, destruction and hatred. It is none but we people who start wars, we people who get affected by wars, and it's only we people who can stop these wars. Being a soldier...
The delegate of Japan would like to say, Japan has strained relations with Russia due to the Russo-Japan War that was fought in 1904, whereas relations with Ukraine have been cordial since its inception. Japan has not directly participated in this war. Japan, seeing this brutal war and the harm caused by it, believes the war should come to an end as soon as possible. The bloodshed and death in the war has been devastating.
Japan, though allied with Ukraine, refuses to participate in the war because it understands that Russia has the stronger hand in the situation and the chance of victory is low. Japan prioritizes its own citizens and their livelihoods more than unnecessary warfare. Japan is committed to increase the cost to Russia and those supporting Russia's acts of aggression. In doing so, Japan has fully supported the economic sanctions against Russia by the United States and the Western world because of its actions in Ukraine. Since Russia's full-scale aggression began in Ukraine, Japan has helped Ukraine in numerous ways. Some of them are by providing humanitarian aid and about $7.1 billion to the Ukrainian government. The impact of this war on Japan has led the economy of Japan to downfall. According to Japan, UN should try its best to stop the conflict by bilateral interactions with both the countries that are at conflict, that is Russia and China. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate. With that, the General Assembly comes to the end of the GSL, which was launched by the Delegate of Poland.
Thank you, Chair. The delegate of Ukraine would like to start a motion for the moderated caucus of 2 hours with 60 seconds per speaker or per delegate on the topic of human rights violations.
All the delegates in favor of the motion raised by the Delegate of Ukraine. The motion passes. All the delegates are willing to put forward their points. And raise their hand.
Thank you, Chair. North Korea is not directly involved in the war as we are not geographically connected, so we don't have many human rights violations due to the war. But I would like to shed some light on the condition of Russia. Russia is facing many atrocities because of this war that are connected to the human rights violation, and many Russian military officials are being captured as prisoners of war and treated very badly, to say the least. Not only this, the war has had a relevant impact on the daily lives of the people living near the fight or the war. This has caused many to have to leave or evacuate their safe abodes and go for refugee camps. We see many drone attacks from the Ukrainian army rather frequently now that are thankfully dealt with by the Russian military. But these acts put many civilian lives at risk, and that is not something Russia and its allies could be standing for. Thank you.
Australia has imposed many sanctions upon Russia for violation of human rights. Australia has also imposed additional measures on political, economic and legal levels. This is an unprovoked invasion and a clear breach of law by Russia, which is invading the international law and the United Nations charts. In March 2014, Russia annexed Crimea, for which Australia imposed autonomous sanctions, not only for the countries, but also for the 22,000 lives that were harmed. Thank you. I yield my time to the chair.
The war in Ukraine is taking a heavy toll on the South Korea's economy, with exports to Russia plummeting. The war has also disrupted global supply chains, making it more difficult and expensive for South Korea's businesses to import and export goods. South Korea's South Korea's to Russia plunged 80% in May compared to a year ago as Western sanction and logistical disruption took their toll. The decline in exports in Russia is having a negative impact on the South Korean businesses and companies. South Korean businesses are struggling to cope with supply chain disruption caused by Russian-Ukraine war. The war has also led to shortages of raw materials and components and has made it more difficult and expensive to shop goods. This is hurting South Korean businesses and consumers alike. The Russia-Ukraine war has also led to a significant increase in inflation in South Korea, driven by rising energy and food prices. South Korea's foreign investment fell 10% in the first half of the 2023 compared to the same period a year ago. Amid uncertainty caused by Russia-Ukraine war, the decline in foreign investment is a concern for South Korea, which relies heavily on foreign investment to fuel its economic growth. Thank you. The delegate of South Korea would like to yield the time to the chair.
The delegate of France, you have the floor for 60 seconds.
Thank you, Chair. The French Republic's economy is slowing more than previously expected as industry suffers from soaring energy costs and worsening supply constraints following Russia's invasion of Ukraine, according to a monthly report by the central bank. Based on a survey of about 8,000 businesses, the Bank of France now expects growth of only 0.25% in the first quarter, half the expected rate forecasted in March. That's a sharp drop from the economy recorded in the final months of 2021, when France was Europe's standout performer in rebounding from the pandemic. Since the start of the war, energy and raw material prices have soared, highlighting French Republic's dependence on foreign countries, particularly in agricultural sector, which has heavily relied on Ukraine and Russia exports in the past few years, and hence the war has heavily impacted the economy of France. Thank you so much. I would like to leave my time for further inquiries.
Around 7.5 million Ukrainians have left their country since the beginning of the war, with more than 1 million ending up in Germany. Germany's support for the refugees is unwavering. The country gives Ukrainians right to housing, employment, education, and welfare similar to its own citizens. Most Ukrainians in Germany have managed to find private housings, 74% according to the representative survey led by the Federal Institution for Population Research. By contrast, asylum seekers are assigned in place state-run accommodation center where they have to live while application is processed. Over 145,000 of the 1 million Ukrainians in Germany were working, more than half of them in full-time jobs. Around a third of Ukrainian refugees in Germany are children. Thank you. I'd like to yield my time to the chair.
The refugee system in Denmark is very well controlled. Denmark has granted temporary protection to 32,000 Ukrainians and asylum to over 1,400 people. In March 2022, Denmark passed the Special Act, also known as the Ukrainian Law. This law allows Ukrainians to bypass the asylum system and expedite the process of obtaining a 2-year residency permit. According to the Danish Ministry of Immigration and Integration, 36,872 Ukrainians have received residency permit under the Special Act, and 28,876 Ukrainians are currently registered with a municipality. The Special Act also provides the right to work, school, vocational education, access to healthcare, and social benefits. Apart from helping with the accommodation and transportation of Ukrainians, the Danish government has established new partnerships with local municipalities, regional administrations, different unions, and Confederation of Danish Employers, in order to coordinate and facilitate the integration of Ukrainians. Additionally, refugees have full access to all educational institutions in Denmark on the same terms as Danes. Danish language training is also freely accessible, and all children have full access to school, including new arrivals. Thank you.
The delegate of France now has the floor for 60 seconds.
Thank you, Chair. France is one of the main asylum hosting countries in Europe. If Ukrainians hold a biometric passport, they can regularly stay in France for up to 90 days. Ukrainians who do not have such a passport must have a visa that would be issued to them free of cost by the government. If they want to stay in France for longer than 90 days, they can also benefit from the temporary protection. Also, if they are in Paris, they can go to the Ukrainian reception center where they can be directed to accommodation facilities. They will also meet doctors on the spot, be accompanied in their administrative procedures, and be provided with food and beverages. Thank you so much. I would like to leave my time for further inquiries.
The ongoing war in Eastern Europe has led to the displacement of millions of Ukrainian refugees across the entire world. The delegation of Poland can confirm that in response to the extraordinary inflow of refugees from Ukraine, on March 12th, President Andrzej Duda signed a law on assistance to Ukrainian citizens in connection with armed conflict, a significant step to ensure their rights and access to services were protected in Poland. The new regulations entered into force the same day and were retroactively applied from February 24th. Initially, the law guaranteed the legality for stay for Ukrainian citizens for up to 18 months, as well as spouses without Ukrainian citizenship who had entered Poland from Ukraine since the beginning of the Russian invasion, but has now been updated to the date of March 4th, 2024, with hopes that the Russian invasion will cease by the end of this year. Children born in Poland to Ukrainian women who fled the war were also granted legal status. Poland has been the largest refugee host since the Ukraine crisis began on 24th February 2022. In the first few months of the war, more than 4 million persons crossed into Poland from Ukraine. More than 1.5 million refugees from Ukraine registered with the government in Poland for temporary protection and access to government-provided services. I yield my time to the chair.
The delegate of China would like to say, countries all over the world are using similar protection, methods and schemes across the continent to help the Ukrainians. Nearly 5 million Ukrainians have migrated from Ukraine for protection. The action taken by some of the European countries were really initiative. Although China didn't receive any refugees, China will always help Ukraine. I would like to yield my time to the chair.
Just to remind you, delegates, in the unmoderated session, the chair will not be a part of the committee. You will be observed. You are allowed to move from your seats to converse with the other respective delegates. In this specific session, you will be asked questions from media as well. Thank you.
Referring to the reaffirming point, as we know that the men's record was violated by Ukraine in 2015, and surprisingly, just after 2 years, it's suddenly decided to join NATO. So it can be suspicious. Over to Russia.
Noting the past efforts with the various central bodies to resolve this conflict, and stressing to the fact that the UN has faced certain difficulties and must resolve the problem conflict as it is needed of the urgent reforms of the humanitarian ground. Now talking about the operative clause. Russia condemns on the Black Sea grain deal because in this deal it was assured to Russia that the shipments of Russian resources will not be affected. But as you can see here, the resolution that it was not approved for the shipment of the fertilizers and food of the Russian product.
Secondly, it encourages the signatories to refrain from any civilian life is to be put at stake intentionally. So I would not take names in this UN, but I would like to give an example which is going on right now. So Hamas practically bombed. It's exposed that it bombed its own hospital, and then it was a total democratic move. Sorry, it was a total. Again, it was a total suspicious move by the Belarus itself. For bombing its own hospital and degrading the USA. So we can encourage the countries to please support peace and not to put any civilian's life in danger because of some decisions of the leaders. Third is urges countries to make a tranquil approach to the conflict without firearms to promote peace. As I stated earlier that peace is the solution for everything. And as my fellow delegate of Ukraine stated that in a war both the parties loses. And who are the sufferers? The normal civilian peoples. So we can take this war out of the firearms and we can just talk about it and move forward. Fourthly, it appeals the signatories will be sharing all the resources, that is military, economical, technological, political aid, and to the point that they can able to provide. So in this point, we are basically trying to say that if you join our alliances, we will be sharing. Note that word, I am not using the word provided because it will not be one-sided, it will be sharing. So you can give for us, we can give for you, and together we can make a good society. Then it's appeals, this is one of the most stronger points, so kindly take a note of it. Appeals to reform the Warsaw Pact, which was disbanded in the year 1991 to reinstall the feeling of brotherhood and togetherness within all nations by making certain new amendments and build a powerful organization to defend against upcoming threats as one. In simpler language, in today's world, it's 30 NATO countries versus Russia alone. So the only thing we can do is create a Warsaw Pact in which Russia would have some allies to defend with. If there's a law that if one of the NATO countries gets attacked, so all 30 countries come together and attack Russia. But if Russia is attacked, then who is to back up for Russia? So we would like to, in 1991, as we know, when the NATO was formed, that Warsaw Pact was totally disbanded, and the Russia would face equal consequences regarding to it. So the Warsaw Pact, when it's formed, we can it's not a general, it's not a forcement of the countries to join, but it will be same as NATO. We will share the amendments, we'll share the trade, we'll share the defense forces and all, and together we can just, at least Russia could have some backup against the 30 powerful NATO countries. Otherwise, according to Belarus, according to Russia, from our side, I can see that Russia's structure will change from the world map in the upcoming 100 years. Next point is a request that all nations respect the sovereignty, culture and the laws of the territorial land. So homeland is lovable to all of us, right? Nobody wants that enemy infiltrates your homeland and makes things that you don't want to do. So the Ukrainian delegates can of course pose a question that basically you infiltrated a homeland. But what if, let's take us back to 2014 or 15 times. Ukraine was consistently trying to join NATO, and if joined NATO, the American soldiers and the most powerful soldiers, the arms, weapons, will all be on the borders of Russia, and Russia could not sleep peacefully because the enemies are on the doorstep. Seventh point is request the continuous to make a practical and a beneficial approach to the conflict at hand and not by emotions and the basis of what the media decides at present. This is one more powerful point that I would like to present. When I was talking to many of the delegates during the Unmoderated caucus, many delegates didn't have a practical solution, a professional solution that why they are supporting Ukraine. They only supported Ukraine because of the humanity, because of they are the smaller country, they are going to lose, they are this, they are that. And secondly, the media. So I would like to give an example of India. basically the countries which are not affected by the war at all, the India, China, Australia, which are way far off the war, who is bringing the war to them? The media. So media plays an important role. And for example, I would like to give in India, like when the conflict was going on, we could see that in the news channels, it could be seen that today 5 Ukrainian soldiers died, today this much civilians died. We can see that it's a war. So both the side soldiers have died. But in none of the news channels, it was provided that today 2 Russian soldiers were found dead or something like that. No civilians were, like about Russia, no civilians were given importance, or it was only the news channels because of TRP or something, they were supporting Ukraine because they are a smaller country, and like for a peace treaty, they have to support Ukraine because Russia is so stronger. So if it is stronger, then the only question rises when the delegate of India poses this question, the refugees of Russia are also refugees. They are also people. So they should be treated equally by the media, by the government and everyone.
Good afternoon all. I stand here today with immense pride and gratitude as I extend my heartfelt thanks to all the delegates who have actively participated in Model United Nations. Your dedication, enthusiasm and hard work have truly shone brightly throughout this event. Your active participation in the Model United Nations has not only enriched your own knowledge and skills, but also inspired others to engage in discussions about global issues. I believe that the experience gained during this event will continue to shape your future as responsible, informed, and engaged global citizens. And I look forward to seeing the positive impact you will make in the world as you carry forward the lessons learned here. Now, I would like to request Colonel Gautam Ranpal, along with Principal Ma'am, to honor and appreciate the delegates of accreditation. First, please welcome Colonel Gautam Ranpal as a chief guest for our event now.
Good afternoon everyone. It is with great pleasure and honor that I stand before you today to welcome our distinguished guest, Colonel Gautam Ranpal, who has taken his valuable time out of his busy schedule. May I kindly invite you to the podium to address our delegates and share your thoughts with us. Your words indeed have the power to motivate, inspire and shape our future. I would request everyone to please join me in welcoming our guest with a round of applause.
Thank you for this. Actually, I think it's more of a trap than anything else. And I'm not distinguished, I'm extinguished. Okay. I think everybody spoke so well. I know I can relate about my kids when they were doing this, and they did a lot of hard work. They worked hard for their what they were supposed to speak about, and also, like I've seen the delegates, how hard you work to know about the country you're representing. So it's very nice. The UN Assembly, it's good, great. The League of Nations, etc., etc. But to have peace, you need to be prepared for war, right? So if you would only get peace when you are prepared for war, and you can see the hoardings all over the place. United Nations is good. It's a great forum. It is, and the way you spoke, I think they were brilliant. They did a very good job. And the principal has been telling me that you put a lot of hard work in it, and it shows. And great, it's good to see such vibrant people, nice looking, great looking faces, fresh faces, and also that you have done a superb job in whatever you have been doing today. Lastly, I don't want to take too much time, I think everybody's hungry. So all the best, and again, I'm sure this is the first time you've done it, and you've done a splendid job. So next time we can do, I think the Japanese lady can come with the kimono on. Right. So likewise, everybody can represent that country, that place where you belong to, and how it looks so nice and vibrant also. And of course, we can have a prize for the well-dressed gentleman or lady also.
Sure.
So then all the best, and thank you very much for a great performance today. God bless.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Sir, what do you find the most rewarding about coaching MUN teams?
As far as social science teacher is concerned, it's for a pride, privilege for me to train the children for making them, preparing them, or training them to keep a proper model United Nations in the school. So actually we are giving an experience, an exposure for the children to go beyond the classroom. That's the main purpose, that is enriching their knowledge. That is the main motivating factor by conducting this model United Nations.
Yes, sir. And sir, how do you think that the MUN develops a child's knowledge?
Of course, definitely. This model United Nations definitely will enrich their knowledge. Apart from knowledge, as far as the National Education Policy 2020, that emphasizes certain skills. That's called as life skills.
Yeah.
Okay, these life skills such as students can enrich their knowledge. It leads to students to critically evaluate things, what is going around the globe.
Yes, sir.
And they can acquire knowledge for how to solve a problem. Basically, this problem solving.
Right.
And they can improve their communication skill.
Yes, sir.
They can become a good leaders, and they become a global citizens. So we are giving a lot of life skill for the students to enrich their knowledge.
Yes.
Beyond this, classroom academic subjects.
Yes, sir.
It's giving a wider platform for the children.
Okay.
Okay, that's quite the main purpose by which we are conducting this model.
Thank you, sir.
Ma'am, what according to you are the key skills, qualities that students can develop through participating in MUN?
I would say MUN is not just a simulation of global diplomacy. It is a showcase where the students can come up with their innovative ideas, showcasing their cultural awareness of different countries, as well as showing how confident they are, understanding the global scenarios. And certainly, I would say it will enhance their research abilities to a greater extent, confining them not only to India but to a global scenario altogether.
Good morning, ma'am. Good morning, dear children. Ma'am, since 9 a.m. in the morning, this school, students have been actively participating in the Model United Nations, where we've tried to replicate the General Assembly. Yes. There have been 18 delegates representing different countries, solutions to the Ukraine-Russia conflict. Right. Now, you have witnessed this competition, this Model United Nations that we've tried to create since the morning. And as the media personnel, after observing all of this, we have certain queries that we'd like to ask you. Is it okay if we go ahead? It is indeed a pleasure having an interaction with you both girls, so please go ahead. Thank you. Thank you, ma'am. Now, I would like to ask you is, how do you feel about conducting and witnessing the Model United Nations in the General Assembly on the Ukraine-Russia conflict that we've organized today?
Thank you, Shrutika, for this wonderful question. I would say that it is a pleasure, and I'm really happy to see the Model United Nations delegates to be presenting this Model United Nations. And indeed, the topic that you have chosen is very interesting, the Ukraine-Russia conflict. And I have been witnessing since the morning the children are doing. They are representing their opinions, discussions, and everything, the protocol that has been scheduled and planned. It's all going wonderful. So it is a pleasure watching you all children doing this Model United Nations. Thank you for the wonderful question.
Ma'am, we hope, since this is our last year in school, we hope that this MUN will be carried out in future years. And thank you so much for this wonderful interaction, ma'am.
Thank you, Shrutika. Thank you, Anisha. I would say that yes, though it's just the beginning, that now with your experience, we know that how beautifully children can go ahead with this Model United Nations. I assure you that every year we're going to conduct, and this will continue till the time the children want to, and we are planning to take this on another level next year. So this year it was in-house, next year it will be within the schools and maybe on the international level too. So best wishes to you and the upcoming lot of children who will be a part of this Model United Nations. Thank you so much, girls. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am.